There is a plant in the American South that has swallowed entire forests. It drapes over abandoned buildings like a green funeral shroud. It buries power lines, smothers houses, and climbs telephone poles until they disappear beneath a living curtain of leaves. Drive through Georgia, Mississippi, or Alabama in the summer, and you will see it everywhere. Rolling green mounds that look almost sculptural, almost beautiful, until you realize that underneath each one is something that used to exist. A tree, a barn, a car. This is Kudzu, a climbing, coiling, trailing perennial vine in the legume family, native to East Asia, and now the most infamous invasive species in the United States. It covers an estimated 7.4 million acres of American land. It grows up to 1 foot per day during summer and up to 60 feet in a single growing season. Its root crowns can weigh 400 to 500 pounds and penetrate 20 feet into the ground. The United States spends somewhere between $100 million and $500 million every single year in lost forest productivity and control costs. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Every single part of this plant is edible. The leaves, the flowers, the roots, the vine tips, all of it. And not just edible in a survival manual last resort kind of way. Edible in a way that billions of people across Asia have known for thousands of years. The vine that ate the South is not just a problem, it might be one of the most overlooked protein sources on Earth. Let us start with the numbers, because the numbers are what make this story genuinely strange. Kudzu leaves contain 15 to 25% crude protein on a dry matter basis. Multiple independent studies report protein concentrations between 17.5% and 22.9%. Kudzu hay, when properly dried, typically hits 22 to 23% crude protein with over 60% total digestible nutrients. Now compare that to beef. Lean beef contains roughly 26% protein by weight when raw. On the surface, beef wins, but that comparison is meaningless without context, because the real question is not how much protein is in a single serving. The real question is how much protein you can produce per acre per year, and that is where the math becomes almost absurd. Kudzu can produce 2 to 4 tons of dry matter per acre per year in the United States. In tropical climates, tropical kudzu varieties can produce 11,000 to 18,000 kilograms of forage annually. At roughly 20% protein content, that translates to 400 to 800 pounds of protein per acre per year from kudzu. Beef cattle raised on pasture produce roughly 40 to 60 pounds of protein per acre per year. Read those numbers again. Kudzu produces roughly 10 to 20 times more protein per acre than beef cattle on equivalent land. And it does this with no fertilizer inputs whatsoever, because kudzu is a nitrogen-fixing legume. It pulls nitrogen directly from the atmosphere and deposits it into the soil. Researchers estimate it fixes 235 kilograms of nitrogen per hectare per year, an order of magnitude higher than native species. It grows on poor, degraded, acidic soils where other crops fail. It does not need irrigation. It does not need pesticides. It does not need anything from us at all. It just grows. So if this plant is so productive, so protein-dense, so wildly abundant, why does nobody in America eat it? To answer that, you have to leave America for a moment and look at the cultures that never stopped eating it. In Japan, kudzu root starch called kuzuko is a premium culinary ingredient that has been used for centuries. It is the base of kuzu mochi, delicate translucent pudding cakes. It makes kuzu kiri, silky starch noodles served cold with brown sugar syrup. It is whisked into kuzuyu, a warm herbal drink given to people with colds. It thickens sauces with a clarity and texture that cornstarch cannot replicate. Authentic kuzuko is not cheap. It is considered a gourmet ingredient, prized for its purity and its almost ethereal mouthfeel. In China, kudzu is one of the 50 fundamental herbs in traditional Chinese medicine, known as jiyi-jian. Its root starch has been used in cooking for at least 6,000 years. 6,000. Before the pyramids were finished, people in China were eating kudzu. It was one of 3 main clothing and textile materials in ancient China alongside silk and rami. In Korea, the root is made into chiksha, arrowroot tea, and the starch is the primary ingredient in naengmyeon, cold buckwheat noodles served in icy broth, one of Korea's most iconic and beloved dishes. In Vietnam, root starch called bot san dae is flavored with pomelo oil and consumed as a refreshing summer drink. The flowers can be made into jelly that tastes remarkably similar to grape jelly. The leaves are cooked like spinach, tossed into salads, or deep-fried as tempura. Nearby bee colonies produce a unique red and purple honey from kudzu nectar that people describe as tasting like grape jelly or bubblegum. Billions of people have eaten this plant for millennia. It is not exotic. It is not experimental. It is dinner. The disconnect between how Asia sees kudzu and how America sees kudzu is not botanical, it is cultural, and it is layered with real practical barriers that deserve honest examination. The first and most serious barrier is herbicide contamination. Kudzu in the United States is routinely and aggressively sprayed with glyphosate, triclopyr, and picloram. Most roadside kudzu, the kudzu you actually see from your car window, is unsafe to eat because it has been chemically treated. This is not a trivial concern. It is a genuine safety issue that anyone interested in foraging kudzu must take seriously. The second barrier is cultural unfamiliarity. Americans have been told for decades that kudzu is a destructive pest, a green menace, a botanical catastrophe. There is a deep psychological resistance to eating something you have been trained to view as the enemy. The third barrier is infrastructure. Unlike in Asia, there is no commercial supply chain for kudzu in the United States. No harvesting equipment designed for it, no processing facilities, no distribution network, no section in the grocery store. Infrastructure gaps make scaling any edible use very difficult. The fourth barrier is that harvesting kudzu is genuinely difficult. The vine growth habit makes it extremely hard to bale as hay. It does not shed water well, which means it rots easily if not dried properly. The fifth barrier involves anti-nutritional factors. Kudzu contains tannins, saponins, alkaloids, and isoflavones that require proper preparation to neutralize or reduce. The roots are labor-intensive to process. Extracting starch from massive underground root systems is back-breaking, time-consuming work. In Japan, authentic kuzuko production is a dying art precisely because it is so physically demanding. These are real obstacles. They are not excuses, but they are also not insurmountable. The darkest irony in the kudzu story is that we put it here on purpose. The United States government paid farmers $8 per acre to plant kudzu in the 1930s and 1940s. The Soil Conservation Service grew 70 to 85 million kudzu seedlings in its nurseries. The Kudzu Club of America had 20,000 members by 1943 and set a goal of planting 8 million acres. By 1946, over 1 million acres had been deliberately planted. The idea was erosion control. Kudzu would hold the soil together on degraded southern farmland. And it worked. It worked spectacularly. Then it kept working. It worked its way across forests and farms and fences and roads. Cultivation peaked, the government abandoned the project, and the plant they had championed became the villain of every southern landscape. It was officially declared a weed by 1970. It was placed on the federal noxious weed list by 1997. We created this problem. We spent public money to create it, and now we spend public money to fight it. And the solution, or at least part of the solution, might be as simple as putting it on a plate. There is already evidence that this works. Livestock grazing on kudzu can simultaneously control the invasive vine and produce meat, milk, and fiber. Research has shown that dairy cows fed kudzu produce milk with no color or flavor differences from conventionally fed cows. Goats are the most effective biocontrol agents. In Tennessee, 200 goats can consume 1 acre of kudzu in a single day. Heavy, sustained grazing for 3 to 4 years can eliminate established stands entirely. Research at Middle Tennessee State University found that broiler chickens fed kudzu leaf meal at 6% of their diet performed at relatively high levels, with zero mortality differences compared to controls. Kudzu leaf meal could serve as a substitute for expensive soybean meal, particularly in tropical countries where soy must be imported. Small groups across the American South are already experimenting with kudzu flour, kudzu jelly, kudzu tea, deep-fried kudzu leaves, and kudzu blossom preserves. Artisanal producers have begun marketing these products, testing whether Americans can learn to see food where they currently see only weeds. There is a concept from kudzu's native range that reframes everything. In China, Japan, and Korea, humans are considered the main predator of kudzu. Human use and cultivation is both what spreads it and what controls it. Researchers describe it as a quasi-wild species shaped by thousands of years of human interaction. When humans harvest it, process it, eat it, feed it to their animals, and weave it into their material culture, kudzu stays in balance. When humans abandon that relationship, as happened in the American South, the vine does what it has always done. It grows. The lesson is not that kudzu is secretly wonderful or that invasive species are gifts in disguise. The lesson is that reframing invasive species as free resources rather than just expensive problems could fundamentally transform how we approach environmental management. Instead of spending hundreds of millions of dollars per year poisoning a plant, we could be harvesting it, processing it, feeding it to livestock, extracting its starch, using its fiber. A few critical caveats must be stated clearly. Only harvest kudzu from areas known to be free of herbicide treatment. Most roadside kudzu in the United States has been sprayed and is not safe for consumption. Kudzu has allelopathic properties. Its phenolic compounds suppress other plants, and kudzu-growing soils contain roughly 50 times more phenolics than kudzu-free soils, which means removing kudzu does not instantly restore the land beneath it. People with hormone-sensitive cancers or those taking tamoxifen, anti-diabetic medications, or methotrexate should avoid kudzu supplements due to isoflavone content. The plant is deciduous. Above-ground parts die back in winter, limiting harvest to the growing season from roughly May through October. It is not a silver bullet for hunger or for invasive species management, but it is a resource hiding in plain sight, growing 1 foot per day, producing more protein per acre than the cattle we raise on cleared forest land, eaten by billions of people across multiple continents for thousands of years, ignored entirely by the one country that is drowning in it. The answer to 7 million acres of invasive vine might not be more herbicide, it might not be more spending, it might not be another government program to fight the consequences of the last government program. The answer might be a fork. We did not lose kudzu, we just stopped seeing it as food, and perhaps it is time we looked again.